Nintendo have opted to keep things simple with Mario Kart 8, and just like Super Mario 3D World was a HD version of Mario 3D Land, and much more obviously, that same pattern applies here. It would have been daft to change how Mario plays after such incredible sales of the 3DS version, so you'll be able to pick it up and play instantly, which is part of why it's so phenomenally playable. Focus instead on getting the online right is a smart move, as that's a thing Nintendo are rightly criticised for doing poorly. Here you can create tournaments selecting from a multitude of options to truly make the rules apply to your friend group. If you fancy a pick up and play approach to online multiplayer, there are options to do it in both solo and 2-player mode. Offline, however, it's a shame that you can't have one player on the TV screen and another on the gamepad. For 4-player action, sure, it makes sense to throw everyone into their on-screen quadrant, but in 2-player it'd be excellent to have one player use the TV whilst the other uses a gamepad, and while it's not a terrible omission, given the fact that in the 3-player offline mode the fourth part of the screen shows the person in the lead, it's definitely a weird one. One major issue though arises if you choose to use a Wii remote. By default, every single time you start a Grand Prix it will be set to use motion controls, and what this means is that if you want to use the Wii remote as a standard controller, you'll have to, without fail, pause the game right after the race starts and switch it from motion to standard. Hugely annoying, I'm sure you'll agree. As usual, the Grand Prix mode is made up of 8 cups, of which 4 contain new tracks and the other 4 host remakes of the old tracks. Thankfully, these older tracks have had attention lavished upon them as well. For example, the N64 Toad's Turnpike, the one that has moving traffic throughout, now allows you to go onto the walls and avoid oncoming cars thanks to the new gravity wheels and so on. It's nice to see a track and think, I know this one, only to have it turned ever so slightly on its head, making it new again. The new tracks obviously focus on that mechanic too and are enjoyable. Some will disorient you ever so slightly, but only for the first time. Going from being upside down to suddenly driving through the water then back out again shows the Nintendo creativity we've come to love over the years. And there are specific highlights of course, including a downhill ski slope track that, despite having 3 laps, is in fact one long course that culminates in a rush downhill to the finish line. Rainbow Road is represented well too, with a superb new track and the N64 version as well. Eventually all tracks are available in mirror mode, which adds a tiny bit of life, but you'll quickly find your favourites and race on them. Sadly, Battle Mode doesn't have unique tracks designed for it again. Instead, you'll be using the courses you play in GP. It's slightly lazy in truth, but the focus is very clearly on the online GP modes and tournaments, and Nintendo really have got that spot on. In the power-up department, the horrific blue shell returns. Some may like it, some will hate it, because it removes the importance of skill. Younger players seem to like it, but racing well doesn't matter if someone can hit you with that blue shell before another 3 players ram you with a multitude of other items, putting you back to 5th after holding a lead for 2 full laps. New to Mka is the Horn, which appears to be a way to stop the blue shell, though the opportunities to do so are fairly rare and require everything to align just right. Also new is the Piranha plant, which automatically chomps at coins, enemies and obstacles, and is particularly useful. The Boomerang is another decent power-up, as you can throw it 3 times and it can hit multiple opponents. For every 50 coins you collect, you'll unlock a new vehicle customization, and although there are plenty to play around with, you'll find what works for you pretty swiftly. I'm a 4 wheels kind of guy, you can keep your motorbikes. If you're half decent at MK, you'll have revealed all the unlockable characters before you even start 150cc too, because you get one for winning every Grand Prix. They're exactly who you'd expect them to be, with metallic versions thrown in to bolster the roster up a bit. But it's the visuals that mark the biggest jump in the series, because they look incredible. Nintendo's first party titles always look pretty good, and thanks to Super Mario 3D World and many others, we've seen exactly how good they can look in HD, but it's the design that stands out. Honestly, only seeing it in person does it justice, and the single player frame rate adds to that feeling that you're seeing something visually spectacular. There's always an undercurrent of when it's ready with Nintendo games, and it's hard to be angry about that when you see how bug-free and well-designed they are. I mean, when it comes to the audio, you could probably predict what you'll hear. Chirpy tunes full of brass and lead guitar, with the usual blurted catchphrases. They lit in Mario Kart 8, and now you can even use a large button in the middle of the gamepad to sound your horn. Though, speaking of the gamepad, I quickly hit the button that shows the overhead view of the race, but you can of course play the entire game off screen if you fancy getting a few games on the quiet while the TV is otherwise engaged. Mario Kart TV, or MKTV, is one of the largest new additions and allows you to watch your race after finishing and edit the clip with a view to showing it off thanks to a YouTube upload option. More than this, you can watch your friends' clips too, or just check out the best or most recent clips worldwide. It's a nice idea and it works well with the option to star a track after finishing it to mark a favourite, but, and I know this is a minor quibble, when you finish a race the first option highlighted is that replay, whereas most will, after a while, just want to continue onwards and will have to move down and hit a different option. The most important thing is that Mario Kart 8 is just a whole lot of fun. Whether you're on your own or playing with any number of friends, you're assured of a good time. The happiness on children's faces whilst playing this is a joy, and then suddenly you notice that you're smiling too. And it may not be revolutionary, but it adds just enough to pique interest while keeping the core experience we've all grown up with regardless of age. Mario Kart is one of those timeless franchises that every age group can enjoy, and sometimes that's just enough to celebrate.